because it's still taboo. We unlearned everything we know about cannabis in less than 100 years because of the naughty shenanigans of politicians. And that is the honest to goddess's truth.
It's true.
Welcome to Season 6 of the Cannabis Truth Podcast, where we speak the language of cannabis freely and uncensored while educating our audience on safe use of this live plant therapy. You should know what's in your cannabis, what's good and what's not, because cannabis does not come with an FDA stamp of approval, yet. The information you will find here comes straight from scientists and clinicians, doing the work and reporting their findings in reputable outlets. Hopefully, we can inspire you to research the facts as we know them today. Cannabis is an amazing alternative in health remedies, with the potential to alleviate typical disease problems and troubling side effects, even those caused by synthetic prescriptions. Here now is the host of the Cannabis Truth Podcast. She is a 21st century cannabis shaman, not a doctor, not a scientist. Raised by nuns and wolves in the verdant cattle pastures of the Oklahoma oil fields, here to amplify the truth of this great big story of cannabis in historical, political, scientific, and spiritual terms, so you can make educated decisions about the medicine you choose to ingest. Please welcome Honey Smith Walls.
Say good morning to Cynthia Sari, and she just got through asking me where I'm located. So I'm up in orchard country in Michigan. That's about 50 miles north of Detroit. And so we're in big farm country up here, and I live in a great big old 100-year-old farmhouse with my son and his two remaining little kids, and 10 and 11. And so we're just having a great time together, and it's beautiful up here after spending 35 years in the heat of Florida.
And you came back north to enjoy the snow?
Everybody laughs about that, and they say I got it backwards, but I'm here to tell you, I love the cold. I love wearing big sweaters and, and the freshness of the air and all of that up here. So, plus it's an entirely different climate in cannabis. Up here in Michigan, it's recreational. Down in Florida, it's only medicinal.
Only medical, yeah.
And so it was a big brain buster to me coming up here and trying to figure out that whole stupid hippie language that they put on recreational products, and to try to figure out, what is this? What does pink pussy do?
Yeah,
what does unicorn poop do? What does that do?
I don't know why they come up with all these very crazy names, but it seems to work.
They're just selling the high. There's no medicinal nothing going on up
now.
Here.
Does Michigan have a limit on how much it can be in milligrams?
I don't know, because the bud tenders don't tell me anything, and I quite frankly, I have a hard time going to a dispensary because I know too much. and if I ask more than one question about, the product that I'm trying to inquire about, they change bud tenders out on me, and I feel very frustrated then, because now I have to repeat everything that I said, and it's hard to hear because of the loud pumping, thumping music going on. And,
I stop all that by just going to the owner. I go and talk to the owner. They have the most knowledge.
Yeah.
Well, they're the ones that are the decision makers as to what products that they carry and to what each product does.
Right.
So they're the ones in the know. You got to talk to the owner.
Okay, I'm going to try a stab at that, but I got to tell you.
If you call ahead, or if you set up an appointment ahead of time, then they're going to be there, because they're not always there, especially if they have multiple sites that they're operating. They might be at the other site, and then you'd go there for nothing. So I always make sure I either call ahead or I email the owner and say, listen, I'd like to come in and talk to you. Will you be available at such and such a date and time? Or tell me when you would be available. And then it works out better.
Cynthia, I love this advice, and I'm going to take you up on it. Please,
Wonderful.
darling, would you introduce yourself and tell everybody why you're here and why I wanted you to come for exactly this kind of reason?
Well, my name is Cynthia Sari. I live in Phoenix, New York, which is north of Syracuse, where I grew up. I was born and raised in Syracuse, and we get lake effect snow here because we're right underneath Lake Ontario, and the Arctic blasts come across Lake Ontario, which is a fairly good sized lake, and it warms up quite a bit in the summer and stays warm when winter starts. And so it picks up all that warm moisture off the lake and dumps it on our area here. In fact, just about 5 miles north of me is a place called Palermo, which received the most record snowfall in a 3-month time. From January until March, they received 243 inches of snow. And that's a lot of snow. We still have snowbanks now. I mean, it's about 65 degrees out today and the sun is out, but we still have snowbanks here because, they would freeze and then it would snow again and then they'd freeze, and it takes a long time for them to melt away. But most of the backyard that I'm looking out over now is green, but I still see a lot of snowbanks.
Wow. How y'all get around up there with that kind of snow, that depth of
Snow blowers and shovels.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Dogs or horses up there.
Well, actually, there are a lot of Amish families here who do the horse and buggy thing. But yeah, it's definitely a trip, and luckily we're coming into spring now, so it's pretty much gone. For the most part, I'm hoping. They said that there still might be some snow flurries, but hopefully it's not going to be too much. But I started in the cannabis industry a long time ago when it was still on the illegal side. Mm-hmm. And I found that I almost was busted. And I decided, no, I really don't want to go spend time in a jail. So I know an awful lot of people who did. And it was scary. And I'm not a really big person. I'm 5'1". So I thought, I really don't want to have to spend time in jail. So I decided that I would go and get a job at the post office. And I did. I took a whole bunch of exams and did really well on my exam, but it took a long time for them to finally come across my name. And I got a job there, and it was in Phoenix, New York, which is about 20 miles north of Syracuse. And nobody knew where Phoenix was. I called up the Syracuse cab company. I said, how do I get to Phoenix? And they said, well, you get on Route 81 and go about 40 miles north and you'll get to there. Well, I arrived about an hour early from my interview because they had no idea where it was either. Syracuse is self-contained. There's no reason to go outside of the city. But now as people have moved into the suburbs and all, the suburbia has become a whole lot more of a destination for a lot of people. And unless you are working in Syracuse, you don't have to go into the city very often, which is nice. Yeah. So I worked for 30 years at the Phoenix post office and bought a house here and married a man here and raised our son here, which is nice because a small community gets to know you and you can contact people to get things done, which is really nice. Yes. In the city, you would not have gotten that kind of help.
Support.
But in a small town and small village, it really does make a difference. And it's a nice lifestyle.
It is.
My husband was a farmer who grew up about 5 or 6 miles outside of the village. Yeah. And to him, this is city living in the village. And
I believe it.
And to me, it's suburbia, because there's backyards and there's no fences and you see a lot of green. But it's different. But I love it. And so I have been here now for 37 years, and I enjoy being in this community. But when I was getting closer to my time of retiring, I thought, what am I going to do now? I mean, I don't want to retire to watching soap operas on the couch all day long. That does not thrill me. I don't do a whole lot of sports, but I do like to be a participant in the audience, and I do like to get out and do things. And plus, I've also sung all my life. When I started with the Postal Service, they found out that I sang, and they started bringing me to all the veteran affairs and all the civic organizations and everything. And I would go around the whole central New York area to do either God Bless America or the national anthem. And
that is no easy song. I'm a bit of a singer too. And,
oh, that's
the
wonderful.
range on that song is just gigantic. It really is.
It can be, yes. But what really annoys me with people singing it is that they think it's all about them.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's all about honoring our country.
Right.
And when you have a person who's playing an instrument, they're not all over the place singing or playing their instrument to emphasize what they can do on their instrument. They're just playing the music as it was written. And when I hear singers going all over the place, I'm thinking, no, it's not all about you. It's all about honoring your country and having the honor bestowed upon you to sing it. And to do anything more than that is just not, there's no reason to do that. But anyway, I told my husband that I was going to start writing copy and developing websites for small businesses in our community. And I started doing that. I did that for a few years before I retired, and then I continued after I had retired. And they had started talking about medical and recreational cannabis being part of New York State. And I thought, well, hey, I know that industry. I know the people who work in that industry. I can help these people develop their brand and develop their website so that they have some marketing savvy to get their business going.
Wow.
A lot of the people who were given dispensary licenses in New York State were originally incarcerated people that they're trying to make it up to what they call the card license, where they had the criminal license that was expunged, but they were not able to really make a whole lot of a life for themselves because they had that criminal, thing hanging over their head. Yeah. And so when they were finally given their license, they said, hey, we can make, a living now with the cannabis industry. They might be really good at picking out products and setting up design and getting their stores open, but they're really not very good at putting together websites. And I started going through these different websites that they were putting together, and some of them were very cookie cutter. There's a lot of companies out there that will do a website for you, and they'll put your inventory list and everything on there. But if you go down at the very bottom of the footer and it says that it was developed by, or it says the name of a brand, and then you look at similar other sites that all have the same brand down there at the bottom, you realize that these websites, they're basically just cut and paste.
Right.
For the next one and the next one, and the next one. There's nothing original. There's nothing that makes them stand out. And I said, well,
straight out of Canada. Right.
I can do a better job than that. Yeah. It doesn't take a whole lot of extra time to be original, but it does make a big difference in how the public views and sees your dispensary online. And a dispensary online is a whole lot more than a business card. I mean, you can hand out business cards to everybody, but when they go to your website and it's hard to use, or it's not readily available or laid out very well, it makes it confusing,
or succinct, or recognizable as a product that I might want or why.
They'll click away, and then you lose that business. And the same thing with search engines. Mm-hmm. If you are looking for a dispensary near me and your dispensary isn't popping up there on that first page, how many times when you go looking for something online do you go to the second or third or fourth or fifth page to see what else there might be there? Now, granted, usually the first page has maybe the whole top half of it with sponsored ads, people who have paid to have their dispensary put there. Mm-hmm. And they're going to get a lot of traffic, no doubt about it. That's the reason why they're paying the big bucks to get, their dispensary placed there. Uh-huh. But if you are trying to do it organically, using keywords and some good SEO practices, if your website isn't up there on the top part or near it, first page or two, they're not going to find you, and then they're not going to go to you. And trying to convince these dispensaries of that has been very difficult, because let's face it, when you open a store, you're making a couple $100,000 a month in profit. Really. And until they start feeling the pinch of other dispensaries popping up around them, they're not really giving it much thought as to where it is that they're being placed on Google or on these other search engines, or how it is that their website is ranking on these search engines, and if people are going to find them. And if that's the case, then you have to reach out to find somebody, me, who can help them put their dispensary where it needs to be so that it can be found.
Hi, Honey Smith Walls here. I'm host of the Cannabis Truth podcast, weekly for the past 6 years. But today I'm inviting you to a Facebook group called the Holistic Relief Summit, in hopes that you too will come for the peace and stay for the epiphanies. It's a beautiful space for women to find all kinds of relief from all kinds of suffering. Come join us for free.
Well, hello, I'm Dr. Philip Blair, and I want to introduce you to Honey Smith Walls. And she recently had an experience with beta caryophyllene.
For years, I've been dealing with lots of arthritis pain and pain from neuropathy that has not been resolved through other prescriptive methods. As an advocate educator in the cannabis industry, I learn lots of interesting information about the compounds within the plants, and one of those turned out to be beta caryophyllene.
What was your first dose like?
I was gobsmacked. Absolutely gobsmacked. It has given me my future back.
I want to get it out to everybody too. I want to get it out to the whole world, as a matter of fact. It has so many mitigating factors for all the stresses of life and pain and diseases. It is unbelievable, the spectrum of care that it can provide.
I've got a pertinent question about how they think about their sites and their products. I mean, don't they have a very narrow sales percentage on the products that they're making?
Actually, in New York State, you can only sell New York State products. And the owner of the dispensary gets to pick and choose what products he carries. So that makes a difference too. It's not like a regular grocery store where you've got Kellogg's and, all the different name brands all in there. The dispensary owner gets to pick and choose who they want to glorify in their store. And if, for instance, I went to a local dispensary and I was asking them to see one of the brands that I have used, because as a singer, I don't do a lot of smoking. It hurts. Right. And in fact, I had gotten a vape pen called Strawberry Cough. And that's all it does is make me cough.
Hello, yes, cough.
It's a very nice high, but I don't like the way that it makes me feel, because I do sing and my lungs are very sensitive. So I tend to stick to gummies or tinctures. And I've also gone in on my newsletter. I also highlight different recipes that use cannabis because a lot of people don't understand that when you ingest cannabis, it's a different kind of a high. It takes longer to take effect and it lasts a lot longer. And some people will say, I don't feel anything, and then try to eat more or drink more, and then they're overwhelmed. That's what happened to my husband. He ate a whole gummy, and I said, no, you are a novice. Do not eat a whole gummy. And he was starting to wig out, and I said, nope, come on in here. And I got out my CBD oil, and I put a dropper full of CBD oil under his tongue, and I said, now go sit down, turn on the tunes, you'll be fine. Because if you're not used to that kind of a high, it can make you feel really out of sorts, and it lasts a long time. So you have to prepare yourself that you're not going to be driving or doing operating heavy machinery. Like I said, he's a retired farmer. So I said, no, you're not going to be going on a tractor or doing any driving or going anywhere at all. You're going to sit on a couch for a while and veg out until that CB kicks in and mellows out your high,
Right.
because you ate more than you should have. And a lot of people make that same mistake. They do. It's something that is incremental. You have to start with a low dose. And if you overdose it, then I've never known anybody to do anything bad with an overdose, other than not being able to do anything and they become a couch potato. But other than that, I think that cannabis is one of the few things that they always mentioned that it was a gateway drug. I have never known it to lead to anything more, because you do not have to drink alcohol with it. You do not have to shoot heroin with it. You do not have to do anything else with it other than enjoy the feeling. And if it's too much of a feeling, mellow it out with some CBD oil. You'll be fine.
It's called alchemy.
Yes.
Like putting butter and syrup on pancakes.
Exactly.
It's alchemy. So
yes.
Understand the alchemy of the cannabinoids that you're going to choose for yourself, because you've researched what your issues are and which cannabinoids will help you the most. Then you get to go figure out where to find that product. And then you have to figure out if that product was made safely for you, that doesn't have any contaminants of pesticides and herbicides and fungicides and heavy metals and batshit. So, have to figure all of that out. You need somebody to help you and hold your hand, not only with the science of this product and how best to use it, but also with the marketing of this product, because it's still taboo. We unlearned everything we know about cannabis in less than 100 years because of the naughty shenanigans of politicians. And that is the honest to goddess's truth.
It's true. And that's the hardest thing to overcome, is the stigmatism that has been associated with a plant that's been used for millennia. It's on every I don't know if it grows on Antarctica, but I know that it is on every other continent around the globe. That and the civilizations have used it as a medicinal purpose all this time. And then pharmacology came in and they said, well, we don't want a plant that's organically grown to outshine all the medicines that we can force upon people
on the shelf as well.
Exactly.
But they were doing it before. Some of the big guys, some of the big guns like Eli Lilly and Parker, some of those guys, big pharmaceuticals, when Big Pharma was just gaining its power, right? They were passing out brown tincture bottles of cannabis, hemp oil from, indica, and all. You can find all kinds of pictures on the web about it. But it's got, cannabis has such a long, rich history that it started with our world. It was one of the first grasses. It's probably one of the grasses that made humans slow down and start agriculture, which is how we, created our society as we know it today. But there's so much more to this, and we need people like you, Cynthia, to help our public get past the stigma of the bullshit politicians.
It's true. I went to a bunch of different town boards when they first started talking about, all of the town boards, counties, and all had to vote whether they were going to allow cannabis dispensaries or growing in their jurisdiction. And I said, I'm going to be an advocate, and I'm going to go to these different town board meetings, and I'm going to present to them the reason why they should vote yes. They didn't want to. And the first one I went to was, of course, my own town board. And I stood there. I had passed out what I was going to speak about to all of the board members. I think there were like 10 or 15 of them that were there. And the one that was sitting closest to me was our chief of police, a really nice guy. And I've known him for several years. And here I'm getting up there and I'm talking to the audience and to the board about why they should vote yes. And the reason being is, if you do not vote yes and allow this possibility, which might never surface, but might surface, come into your area to build or to grow, you are going to miss out on that tax advantage that New York State is going to pay you for allowing these businesses to be there.
Right.
And so they're not going to be able to stop people from consuming cannabis in your town if you vote no, but you will not get any of the tax advantages for voting yes. And I found that all of the places that I had spoken to talked to their county, and they all voted yes, except for the wealthier counties and towns. They all voted no. We don't want that here. We don't need
Not
that
in my
tax revenue.
backyard.
Yeah, not in my backyard.
We had that
and
too in
now
Florida.
they're saying, hey, we're missing out on all that money.
All that moolah.
And you're talking $31 million in the first year that New York State had legalized cannabis here. And of that, 4% went to all of the towns and villages and counties that said yes. Whether they had a dispensary there or not, if they were on the yes, they got that tax money. And I thought, shame on you guys. You would not listen. But you know what? What goes around comes around. They didn't want it there in their backyard, and they didn't get it there in their backyard, and they're not getting any of that money either. But I also teach an exercise class for seniors. For seniors.
Nice.
When I retired, a couple of months after I retired from, because with the post office, you're required to lift 50 pounds of mail and, do all this bending and stretching. And I noticed a couple of months after I had retired that my muscles were sore. What was going on? And my husband's cousin said, come with me to a bone builders class. On Oswego County, which is the county that I live in, has a retired senior citizens voluntary program, which hosts in different locales around the county an exercise class for 55 and older. And it's 50 cents a class, and each place does an hour-long class that was developed by Tufts Medical University. And so I started going to that, and I liked it so much that I became a trainer. And so now I teach the class.
Wow.
My oldest student is 92, and she carries 6 pounds in each hand and 8 pounds on each foot. So, she has the ankle weights. And I brought in a can of 1-to-1 ratio THC CBD to my class because I had done an article that demonstrated through the medical community that CBD and THC combined help relieve stressed muscles and helps repair sore joints. And I thought, hey, I got the perfect senior citizen group that we can do it as a test subject on. So I brought in a whole bunch of those little 4-ounce Dixie cups, and I poured some of it into each one. And I think we had about maybe 10 people at class that day.
Powder?
No, just the liquid beverage, a beverage that is made here in New York State. We have an apple orchard that's near Syracuse that does a really nice apple crisp. It tastes like an apple cider.
And so they just pour a tincture into it.
It's excuse me. It's 1%. It's 5% THC and 5% CBD. So I brought it in and I poured them each a little sip. 2 of them are regular customers that go into dispensaries now and buy it for themselves because they liked it that much. It made that much of a difference. I started having my husband drink it at night because he had that restless leg syndrome where his legs were jerking in the middle of the night. And I was like, no, don't do that. And it stopped it. So now he has a CBD gummy every night. And he uses it to help repair his muscles because he still works part-time. And I said, have you noticed a difference? He says, yeah. He says, my legs don't wake me up at night anymore. Yeah. They don't jerk me awake.
Right.
They don't kick the cat off the bed.
Right. CBD has an anti-seizure property.
Yes.
And look, you've got me slapping on a little bit on my hand right now.
Me. I do it too.
I've got real bad arthritis in my hands, and I'm just noticing it's hard for me to get my thumb any further away.
So that'll help it, yeah.
So
now, do you also ingest?
Oh yeah, and I'm an old hippie, and I prefer to smoke a pipe. Actually, just an old wooden pipe like my grandfather's. He used to let me smoke.
Fun.
baby. So, I kind of grew up around farmers and that sort, and that's who I love the most, being around, hanging out with. They just skip all that pretentious stuff and carry on about life. So,
Gotta love it.
Look at that already.
Yep, gotta love it. It's wonderful.
20 seconds. It hadn't even been a minute, and look how
Yep.
far down my thumb will go now.
Yep.
It was quite up here, and I couldn't move my hand out of the shape.
Yeah,
That's
and
just
that works really well for arthritis. I agree.
Yeah, this is a product that has a compound in it called beta-caryophyllene that is it's one of the more prominent compounds in cannabis.
Okay.
And it is amazing quick relief. That's why plant therapy is so wonderful, and it's so powerful and gentle at the same time. We love plant
Trying to get people to believe this is very hard.
Well, look at that. I can open it just instantly. And that's a topical. Wonderful. It's not even a transdermal.
But see, you're using it regularly, and your body is used to absorbing it and using it right away. That's wonderful.
Well, I don't use creams and salves very often, but I just happened to have this here because I was showing off some products in a lecture the other day. And this heel has just been really kicking up, acting like a fool. So, man, I just throw a little bit of that. I'm even surprised at how quickly this works. And I've been in this industry for 10 years now. So, that's Cynthia, wonderful. How can the audience find you, darling? And what's the easiest
Best Copy Now. BestCopyNow.com.
BestCopyNow.com.
Yep.
She's going to make the best copy for you on a brand new.
That's my aim.
Need it. That's right.
I want to make a bold statement for these dispensaries. I want to fuel their industry so that they have brand recognition, so that their people that come there keep coming back. Not
Cynthia,
that they're just a fly by night.
Also let them know and understand that the elder element out here, they're elderly patients. I know they don't think of their customers as patients, but we are.
Oh, yes, we are
patients of this.
And not only the senior citizens population is one of the fastest growing populations with the cannabis industry, because they have found how much it helps.
Exactly.
My mother, who was she's passed away now, but my mother was in a nursing home, and I used to bring the CBD gummies to her. Yeah, I'd give her a gummy. I'd say, "Here, have a gummy," and she'd chew it up. And she says, "This kind of tastes fruity." And I said, "Yeah, it's different." Next thing I know, she'd be singing to me. It's wonderful. And I miss her terribly. But I was glad that I was able to make her happy during the end of her time.
That's
and I went to my vet, and I have an old cat. And I said, he's not jumping around like he used to. And they said, "We'll start putting a couple of drops of CBD oil on his food."
Yep.
Oh my goodness. The cat plays like nothing.
Yep.
Yeah. It's amazing. I couldn't believe what a difference it made for him. And I started doing the endocannabinoid studies. And I have a couple articles. In fact, I think I have an article on my website about it. But every month I put out a newsletter. And if you go to thebestcopynow.com, there's a place to sign up for the newsletter.
Excellent.
And I send out a recipe. I do a poetry lesson because that was my first love, is I love to write. And so I do a poetry lesson, different kinds of poetry, because poetry for me is very cathartic. It helps me move my mind from the stresses of the day to another place, and gives me something to think about. So I'll give a lesson on how to write this particular poem and what it is looking for to make that poem work. And then I encourage people to write for themselves, because it's amazing the things that'll be picked up out of your mind.
Epiphanies.
Yes, it is. It's an epiphany. So I'll put an article in there. I'll put a poetry lesson in there. I'll put some funny signs that I find as I'm going along, and something to think about. And always, always, always telling people about the miracle benefits of using an organic plant that has been around for millennia.
That's
So
it.
if I can help any of your followers, and if I can help any of the dispensaries or people that might be watching this who know somebody, and
Yes.
even if they don't know a dispensary, if they need some website help, I'm available.
There you
And
go.
I will be happy to work with anybody who needs some help.
It would be
But there's-
wonderful to have somebody in this industry who really understands the language that we go through, this undulating, weird kind of hippie medical sciencey, historical language that we're going through right now. It's all Greek to everybody. And the variety of ways that this plant can be used. So it's really good to have somebody who has a global perspective on the cannabis industry to be able to help design a really effective website. So, Cynthia, I'm so delighted that you came to join us today. Thank you, darling, so much. And once again, say the website where everybody can find you.
bestcopynow.com. I'm Cynthia Sari. You can always email me at cynthiasari@gmail.com. Sari has 2 A's. It's Finnish. I married a Finn. So if you need to reach me that way, you can. Or if you need to reach me through my website, you can. And you wanted the national anthem.
Yes. Sing us out of here, girl.
All right. Attention, girls. Attention, men. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, give proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Oh my goodness, that was just wonderful. You just brought tears to my eyes, Cynthia. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody.
Hey, this is America, babe. We live for America and all of the wonderful things that are going to be happening soon. And come on, federal government, get with the program.
Get with the program. The backbone of America was built on cannabis.
Certainly has been.
It
will be again.
And will be again.
Thank you so much, honey.
For joining us, Cynthia. That was just the most beautiful, beautiful rendition of our national anthem I've heard in so long. Thank you, honey.
Thank you.
And we'll see you again soon. Take care, everybody.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Love you. Bye-bye.